Hi guys, let's talk about the homework problems for 7-5 in case you didn't get a chance to get all of your questions answered in class. The first problem has an equation that we have to graph, and what I want you to do when you graph these is I want you to build a table of values like this. You're going to have values for x, and you're going to have values for f of x, and f of x is just another way of saying y. So I can plug in some different numbers. I'm going to show you a few. If I plug in -2, then I'm figuring out what 1/4 to the -2 would be. The negative exponent will flip my fraction over, so I'll actually have 4 squared, and 4 squared is 16. Let's talk about -1. Again, I have a negative exponent. It's going to flip my fraction over. I'm going to have 4 to the 1, so that's a 4. If I had 0, anything to the 0 power is a 1. And if I had a 1, I'd have 1/4 to the 1, which is 1/4. Or 2, 1/4 to the second power is going to be 1/16. So I'm starting big, I'm getting small. That makes sense because my growth factor is a fraction, so I'm actually decaying. So as I type these in, some of them are not too bad to just find on the graph, but if you use this little tool right here, excuse me, you can just type in the pairs of numbers like -2 and 16, and then you hit plot point, and then you hit like -1 and 4, plot point, 0 and 1, plot point, 1 and 1/4, plot point. That's the one that's hard to put on by hand. 1 and 1/16, plot point. And then when you have just entered those all in this first tool, then you will switch and grab this tool, which will connect it. If you have something that looks like this, that would be exponential decay. It starts big and comes down little, nice and smooth, then you've probably done it right and you can hit check. If you end up with something like this, something went wrong in your calculating of numbers and you need to go back and figure out what happened. All right, so let's look at the second one. The second one has a little more going on in the equation. This is our growth factor, so here, get this so I can write on it. 4 is our growth factor, so we know it's greater than 1. We're growing, but my starting amount is only 1/4, so it starts out actually pretty small. Table of values here. I have x's, and then I have g of x, which, if you remember right, is another way of saying y. And if I were to, say, put in a -2 here, I would have 1/4 times 4 to the -2. 4 to the -2 is actually 1/4 squared, or 1/16. 1/16 times 1/4 is going to be 1/64, so it's tiny. -1 will be 1/4 times 1/4 is 1/16. 0 would be 1/4 times 4 to the 0. 4 to the 0 is 1, so that'd be 1/4. This would equal 1. And this would equal 4. So we are growing. We're starting out quite small, and we are growing. And when you enter those, you can do the same thing. Sorry, I got this right over the tools, but you can enter the same way I showed you in the last one. And you're going to have something that is starting out quite small and growing. Let's see. Let me get rid of that. That was not true. 0 and 1/4 is actually teeny. 1 and 1 is here, but then you have like 2 and 4, and it probably might be easier to even just use fractions like that, because that would be 16 and 4 would be 64. So it's going to get quite large quite quickly, like that. All right, and the last one I want to show you talks about domain and range, and what we need to know about domain and range, no matter which order they put those in. Domain always has to do with x, and range always has to do with y. So if I'm looking at this, let's talk about range. Range is looking up and down. And if I notice that my graph can go down as far as I want it to, but it kind of gets stuck right here and it never gets over this point. So I am going to actually say that y has to stay less than -1 in this case. Then I'm going to shift and I'm going to look at domain. Domain is what can x be, left and right. And if I notice that can keep going out there forever, and then this is going down, but it's also getting wider forever. And so what I can say here is that the domain is going to be all real numbers. Right? So domain is x, range is y. You have to just shift your mind to thinking left and right for domain and up and down for range. Hope that helps. Let me know if you have further questions.